Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining me on the planet. My name is June Allen, and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So, good morning. I'm just checking that that's all right. My Facebook thing was doing something a bit weird, so I just had to check that. So good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing okay. Hope you're doing well. So, for those of you that are new to my broadcast, I'm a therapist. I'm a coach. Um, and I basically work predominantly with black women, and the main topics that I of interest and that I kind of work with quite a lot is racial trauma, and I also work with a lot of black women who want to work around healing the mother wound. So, gosh, I'm back today because I want to share another one of the books that have been chosen for your selection as part of my study circle that is going to be launching in October. Okay, so yeah, I run a study circle where we take a book, run all the books that we've chosen have predominantly been by black women, and we use that book to do personal development work around our wellness. And so at the moment, we haven't got anything at the minute. So what I'm doing is I'm taking four books that have been selected. And hi, thanks for joining. I'm taking four books that have been selected, and I'm doing like a brief overview of the book, reading a few little bits and pieces from the book, so that you can have an idea as to what the book's about, whether you think the book might be good for you in terms of whether you want to use that book for the next study circle. And so today I'm doing the third one, which is Rest is Resistance by Tricia Hersey from the Nat Ministry. Now I don't actually physically have the book because it's not actually released yet. It's not being released until October, but I could not help myself. Okay, in terms of putting it on the list because I've been following her for years and I absolutely adore her work. So yeah, it's due to come out, I believe, on the 11th of October. So I'm hoping that I get my copy in time so that we can obviously start doing the work in it. But whether or not even if it's a little bit late or whatever, I'll make adjustments because the book is going to be worth it. And you'll understand why when I share some stuff about her work. So that's a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about today. So just to give you a little bit more of a detail about the study circle. So they're going to be running on Thursday evenings. Okay, it's 8 p.m. London time, and they'll be weekly. If you want to find out any more information about the study circle specifically, then you can click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. And what you can do, I've got a free PDF, okay? My 15 favorite wellness books for you to download, okay? That will add you to the mailing list. And then when the doors open next Friday, for you to join the study circle, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so go to my website and click the link in my bio if that's something that is going to be of interest to you. Okay, and again, if there's anything that I say in this session that you want more information about, everything is on my, you can just click the link in my bio and you can go there and you'll find all the information about how you can work with me, not just in terms of the study circle. Okay, if you got any questions at all about anything that I'm sharing in this live, you can drop it in the comments or you can send me a DM if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm really, really excited about this book. I mean, I've been following the Nat Ministries work for years, and I've always loved what she's about. And basically, the movement is about using rest as resistance. Okay, she's all about using rest as resistance against capitalism, against white supremacist delusion, against workaholism, grind culture, all of that stuff. She really, really believes that a lot of us are, well, actually, this is not what she believes. This is facts, actually. A lot of us are getting ill because we are overworking, because we've got so caught up in grind culture and all the rest of it, that it's making us ill. It's disconnecting us from our bodies. It's disconnecting us from our relationships and who we are, which is not great, which is not great. So her work is really about understanding why we behave that way, and really empowering us to take rest, to take rest as a form of resistance. So obviously I don't have the book physically, so I can't actually read you any passages from the book itself, but instead I've gone to her blog and I've taken a piece from her blog to read out and just share from that, so you can get a bit of an idea as to what she's about, what the movement's about. And then I'm going to share, some what I'm going to be adding, what flavors I'm actually going to be adding to the sessions as well. All right, so let's see. So let's see. She says, rest is anything that connects your mind, okay, to your body. It's not just about naps. All right, rest is anything that connects your mind and body. It's not just about naps. Okay. So she goes on to say, this has been my battle cry and mantra since I created the Rest is Resistance framework in 2016. I began experimenting with rest as a tool for my own liberation and healing in 2013. It has always been about more than taking a full nap. My rest as a black woman in America, suffering from generational exhaustion and racial trauma, always was a political refusal and social justice uprising within my body. I took to rest and naps and slowing down as a way to save my life, resist the systems telling me to do more, and most importantly, as a remembrance to my ancestors who had their dream space stolen from them. So I've listened to quite a lot of her podcasts as well. She's got loads of stuff as well on YouTube. So if you want to find out more about her work and find out more about who she is and all of that kind of stuff, there's loads of stuff there. But one of the things that really struck me about her process and her journey to setting up the Nat Ministry is she talks a lot about. One of the things that really intrigued her when she was exploring this work was she was really interested in how our ancestors that were on the plantations that were enslaved, what was their experience like. She wanted to know more about how our ancestors were treated and their relationship to rest or lack of rest, and how that has been passed down through us, that trauma of not being able to rest, and how that shows up in our behavior today, how it shows up today and how we respond to grind culture and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that she talked about is, she read in some narratives from our ancestors that were enslaved about, how they would work all these ridiculously long hours and how they would have to carry, I think it was 100 pounds of cotton or something like that. I can't remember the exact weight, but it was a really heavy amount of cotton. And she was really curious about what that looked like. So she would be exploring, the size of it, the weight of it, and she would try to kind of get a sense of what it would feel like to carry that. And one of the books that she actually, that she used for that was this book here. It's called Slave Testimony, 2 centuries of letters, speeches, interviews, and autobiographies. Okay, so she would actually have an appropriate understanding of how our ancestors were treated and what rest was like for them. And, it really paved the way for her, not just in understanding firsthand what our ancestors went through, but how important it was for her to set up this movement around rest so that she could begin to do this work around rest, and rest because our ancestors could not. Our ancestors were not allowed to rest. Our ancestors could have been murdered. Okay, they were punished, and they could be murdered if they didn't work hard enough, if they didn't pick the amount of cotton or whatever it is they were doing, that wasn't acceptable to whoever was running that plantation at the particular time. And so, the ancestors spoke through her. The ancestors spoke through. Hi, thanks for joining. Her aunt. She felt that she had to do all of this work that she's doing in order to honor her ancestors. She rests because her ancestors were not allowed to, and that's what she's empowering us to do in this book. She talks about the book being something that's going to really empower us to learn how to use our bodies as a portal for rest, a portal for us to reconnect with our ancestors. So I'm really excited about being able to see this book. I'm really excited about reading it. And, if it's anything like, what she's spoken about on her podcast and what she's written about in her blog, I'm really, really excited about all of that. So she goes on to say in the blog piece, this is about more than naps. It is not about fluffy pillows, expensive sheets, silk sleep masks, or any other external frivolous consumerist gimmick. It is about a deep unraveling from white supremacy and capitalism. These two systems are violent and evil. History tells us this, and our present living shows this. Rest pushes back and disrupts a system that views human bodies as a tool for production and labor. It is a counter narrative. We know that we are not machines. We are divine. Okay, so it's important that we really understand that, and that we really let that sink in. Okay, that it's not an external thing. It's not about, like she says, it's not about fluffy pillows and buying this and that. It's really about a commitment to allowing our bodies to rest. And like she says, it's not just about naps. It's about anything that is really going to connect our mind and body. Okay, anything that's going to connect our mind and body. So that means it can be just walking out in nature. It can be doing something creative. It can be meditation. It can be yoga. It can be drawing. It can be painting. It can be, there's so many different ways that rest can show up. And this is some of the things that I'm going to be adding to the book, is talking about the different types of rest that we have. I did actually do in my mastermind last year. Was it last year or the year before? I think it might have been the year before, actually. I created a category in the virtual library that I have with my clients that I work with in the mastermind. And there's a category that is all about rest, and so there's journal prompts. There's a masterclass that I talked specifically about rest, and one of the most powerful things that came up out of that class actually is understanding that the reason why so many of us find it difficult to rest is because it doesn't feel safe. There's something about our bodies that does not feel safe to actually rest, to calm down, to rest, to slow down, to think, to be more mindful. There's something about the trauma being more present. And so a lot of us, we feel that we can't slow down because we're scared of what we're going to feel. There was a time in my life where I felt that I really couldn't slow down, because I was like, what, if I slow down, I know I'm going to start getting really emotional. And if I start getting emotional and if I start crying, I'm not going to be able to stop. And so I avoid being present in my body. I avoid slowing down. I avoid rest because I'm afraid of all of that. And so, my anxiety around not wanting to feel all of that stuff, all of the trauma and stuff, I end up using busyness. And I know there's a lot of you that can relate to that. I speak to a lot of women that say this. They don't even really know what rest looks like. They don't even understand what it feels like. They don't know what it means to slow down, because we're so used to being in this grind culture. We're so used to sitting in that place of busyness. And actually, society promotes workaholism. It promotes busyness. It promotes productivity. If you're not being productive, okay, if you're not being productive, society is almost like, well, you're lazy. You're automatically lazy. And the system love to tell black people that we're lazy, and this is just utter bullshit. Excuse my language. This is just another way that we are manipulated into thinking that we're not good enough, and as a people, our ancestors on the plantations that were enslaved, we worked for free. And a lot of that, even when we were working for free, we were still being told that we were lazy. Okay, so that is like a massive trigger. That can be a massive trigger for a lot of us around being told that we're lazy. And we don't want people to think that we're lazy. So we work all the hours that God sends. We overwork. We do 2-3 jobs. And I remember my parent, my mum in particular, she's had times in life when she's had, loads of different jobs, what they're doing. They do the night work, and they do this and they do that, and all of these things that they're doing because they're trying to earn money. trying to pay their bills and all the rest of it. And, we're exhausted. A lot of us are exhausted, not just from the work that we're doing to earn money, but trying to parent, and trying to stay sane, living inside this system that is constantly attacking and abusing us. It's a lot. It's a lot to work, and that in of itself is exhausting. So giving ourselves permission to understand what rest means, and to find ways that we can begin to give ourselves permission to embrace a rest practice that is going to help us deal with a lot of that stuff that's underneath all of the busyness. Underneath all of that busyness is, a combination of a lot of things. Hurt, pain, trauma, fear. Fear that we're not going to be good enough, fear that we're not going to be able to earn enough, fear that, if we're not, because we're constantly in survival mode as well. Survival mode, or fear of not having enough or being enough, is going to keep us on that workaholic treadmill, and eventually we're going to burn out. The fact that we've just been through a massive pandemic, and now, in the UK, we're going through this cost of living crisis or whatever, that is very, very difficult. Hi, thanks for joining, Nana. It's very difficult for us to be able to go through all of that. But a lot of us are still carrying on and carrying on and carrying on. And we've not really given ourselves a permission to kind of step back and breathe and think, okay, I really need to just give myself permission to just pause a minute and check in with myself and see how I feel, what's really happening at the moment, what's really going on for me. All of these things are really, really difficult, are really, really hard. And it's hard for people to slow down because, at the end of the day, if you've got bills to pay, you've got children to raise, you're trying to do your own thing. Some of us are studying, it's a lot. It's a lot. But, we have to really be able to stop and ask ourselves, what is that really doing to us as a people? Hi, Kwame. Thanks for joining. What is it really doing for us as a people? What is it doing for you individually? How is it ruining your relationships? Not giving yourself permission to take rest, whatever that looks like. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on with reading the section from her blog. So she goes on to say, it's not a joke nor anything to make light of. Black people are dying from sleep deprivation, and our resistance to rest is a social justice and public health issue. Capitalism was created on plantations during chattel slavery, and in the same system that is driving the entire globe to exhaustion and a deep disconnection with our bodies and minds today. We are no longer divine human beings in this system, and instead machines. This is metaphysical, spiritual, and political work, and anyone who uplifts a message of rest as a form of resistance without tapping into the history of Black liberation and the evils of capitalism is nothing but agent of grind culture. Okay? Do not listen. You should instead read texts on Black liberation like Bell Hooks, James Cone, Toni Morrison, Katie Cannon, Audre Lorde, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., By centering this scholarship, you are respecting the work that has influenced and inspired everything about the NAP ministry. You will begin the process of deprogramming from your brainwashing under grind culture. Go slow. Learn history. Learn your own history. View your body as its own unique technology. And listen. Okay? It's about remembering that, we've been trained to use as Black people, we've been trained to use our bodies as machines inside this system. Okay? It's all about grind culture. It's all about get as much as you can done. It's all about team no sleep. All of the things that are going to have a devastating impact on your ability to function. Okay? And connect. And really enjoy life. If you're always anxious and always on the go and always thinking about what you should be doing next, how are you going to really be able to have the presence to be able to connect with your children, to be present to your family members, to be present to the ones that we love, to be present inside your relationships? How is your life really going to be pleasurable? How is your life really going to be rich and fulfilling if we're always on, or if we're always rushing, if we're always going to the next thing, if we're always busy, if we don't stop, okay, it's not healthy. And we've got to understand the root of where this comes from, and I've heard a lot of people say that that they're afraid of slowing down. you know a lot of us are afraid of slowing down because, again, like I was saying before, we don't know what's underneath it. We're scared of what's underneath it if we stop. But the only way that we're going to be able to deal with this, the only way that you're really going to improve your quality of life, is questioning your relationship around rest. Okay? It's not about survival. Okay? It's about really understanding where is all of this anxiety around survival, where does it come from? We look at the root of it and really understand it. And if it's about safety, it's about you not feeling safe and feeling like you have to be grinding all the time. The group will help you understand and unpack, well, what is it that feels unsafe? What is it about your safety that feels that, what is it about, resting and slowing down that just feels so terrifying for you? Okay, because a lot of us don't really understand it or asking ourselves those questions. And that's really important. Okay, so when you think about everything that the NAP ministry stands for, and hearing me talk about as well some of my experience, and what it means to slow down, what comes up for you around that? Do you feel a sense of anxiety around the idea of resting? I know that when I first started doing a lot of this work around resting and really giving myself permission to pause, I found it really difficult at first. I found it so difficult because my inner dialogue was, you're lazy. My inner dialogue was, if you don't do this, then somebody else is gonna get there before you, and you're not gonna get that opportunity if you don't do it. The other internal dialogue is, that you're not good enough. And if you're not grinding all the time, then there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with me if I'm not grinding all the time, if I'm not always working, if I'm not always doing something. There's something wrong with me and I'm lazy. Okay, that's my internal dialogue. But in doing my own work around rest, I understood that a lot of that that's historical. It's historical stuff. It's historical stuff, and it's also in the present as well. It's both. But in recognizing that, I've had to change my relationship to rest, and through connecting with my ancestors, through doing more a spiritual practice around trust, spiritual practice around trusting that, my higher power, my higher self, however you understand it, whether it's God, Ra, ancestors, that faith, having that faith in a power greater than myself, means that I'm not going to starve if I rest. Okay, that's another dialogue that it's like, I'm gonna starve, I'm gonna be homeless, if I rest. Okay, and I having to rebuild that relationship, adding in the spiritual piece has been really important, because otherwise I just wouldn't stop grinding. I would just keep going. I would just keep going. And that's not healthy for me. I know that it's not sustainable. One of the things that I've particularly looked at, every year when I do my review of the year, when I think about what's happening next year, whether it's personal or whether it's to do with, what I do in service to my community through doing my therapy work, I have to really keep asking myself the question: am I getting enough rest? Do I really want to do I have the energy to really serve the clients that I have with the energy? Do I have enough energy and presence to be able to really serve those clients fully, or do I need to take the maximum amount of clients that I work with, take it down? I ask myself that question all the time. Where am I energetically? Because being a therapist, okay, and doing it well, and being able to be really present for my clients, means that I have to rest. Sometimes I'll go and lie down for 20 minutes in between clients. I'll go and lie down for 20 minutes because sometimes my body just needs it. Because sometimes I'll work with clients that have got a lot of trauma. One of my specialist areas is working with racial trauma. And so if a client is sharing all of that stuff and I'm holding space for them, that is going to have an impact on me as a therapist. And so I have a responsibility not only to process all of that stuff when I go to supervision, but also I need to think about how that is impacting my body. Does it show up in my body as anxiety? Am I feeling tense? All of that kind of stuff. And I have a responsibility to take care of my body. So that means I have to go making sure that I'm exercising properly, because I need to be able to process all of that energy out of my body. It means that I have to go and rest, because if I don't, sometimes I can hold the anxiety or the trauma or whatever that the client's talking about, and I need to make sure that I'm not holding all of that in order for me to look after myself, and I can be present for my own self, and that I can be present for my family as well. So rest for me, whether it's napping or doing yoga or just going for a walk. I do a daily walk in the mornings as well, just 20 minutes just walking around the block, and just doing that I find it, my body wakes up. It's a good way for my body to release any tension or anything that I've got going on, and it's really important for me to really to do that, so that I can really, really take care of myself. And it's been a very powerful way of doing it. But like I said, I have to constantly keep checking in with myself to make sure that that my body is getting enough rest on all of the different levels. Okay, so what comes up for you? Okay, when I talk about all of this stuff, what comes up for you? Is it anxiety? Is it panic? What would your body say if your body could speak? What would it say? Okay. What would your body say if it could speak? That's a really, really important question. Okay. And I'm going to actually leave you with that question. All right. I'm going to leave you with that question, because that is something that is going to decide whether, if you want to read this book, if you want to come and do the study circle with us, then click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. This is going to be an amazing book. And I can't wait for it. I can't wait to get my hands on the actual hard copy when it comes out in October. But if this is something that you're interested in, this is something that you're struggling with at the moment, and you think that this book could really work for you, you can go to my website and you can actually select that one. This is the third book on the list of books to be selected for the study circle. So you can select this one. Obviously, if this one gets the most votes, then this is the one that we'll be doing in the study circle. Okay. If you've got any questions at all about anything that I've shared today, please you can drop me a DM, or you can email me info@yardofgreatness.com. I really hope this has been useful. Share it if you know anyone else that's interested in this or might be interested in anything that I've shared today. Please share it with them. And I will see you next time. So I will be tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow sharing the final book in the selection, and that is going to be Communion by Bell Hooks. Okay, so I'll be sharing a little bit on that. The other books in the selections are Black Woman Millionaire and My Body Is Not an Apology, Sonia Renee Taylor. So this one's the third one. Okay, so if you the videos that I've done for those particular books as well, the reviews that I've done, they're on the website as well. So you can go on the website, click the link in my bio, and you can review those ones if you may be interested in those as well. So thanks again, everyone, for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to get hold of the free PDF with my 15 favorite wellness books, you can find all of that as well on my website. All right, so I will see you tomorrow morning around the same time, around 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, where I'll be doing the final book. All right, take care, have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.